I didn't know when I was younger, right? I found out. I just actually be yourself. And when it comes to how you present, but also just by yourself when you're in a room by yourself, right? It's so fucking liberating. Avanti popolo alla riscossa, mangiera rossa. This.
I don't want to see a single Farquaad comment.
The alt-right are dressing like the radical left. I'm already like, what? There's a particular aesthetic. I mean, I know we all virtue signal to other people based on our aesthetic so that chuds can stay away, etc., etc. But I wouldn't go insofar as painting a particular way of dressing as inherently reactionary or inherently progressive or socialist. But I'm sure it's more clickbaity, and I've seen a few Harland videos that are pretty cool. So yeah, it's probably the title is there to catch attention, as it has, because I've immediately clicked, right?
Comment on this video or I'm gonna lose it. If you're watching my videos, we probably have a similar algorithm, and you've seen the clips and heard the discourse around the Sam Seder Jubilee video titled 20 Trump supporters take on one progressive. If you have no idea what I'm talking about and don't know how you got here, don't worry. I'll explain everything. Consider sticking around for a while. A lot of the discourse around that video is your typical frustration with most Jubilee content. How it's a complete spectacle where nothing is accomplished and no one learns anything. In the Sam Seder video, people have mostly been clowning on Trump supporters, aka secret fascists in this case, as they go flying off the roller coaster type.
Even Skinhead? Yes, Skinhead is the primordial example. What started as a working class and mostly socially and economically progressive movement was eventually completely co-opted by the far right, especially in the British Thatcherite era, right? So always leave it to a fascist to not have the ability to invent anything original, but instead steal, co-opt, and then completely corrupt a particular subculture, symbol, or even way of life to an extent.
Tycoon death trap that is the Dunning-Kruger parabola.
Dude, like, these guys have the capacity to co-opt everything to such a level that we have the most, like, nonsensical concept of all time, which is Nazi punk. Like, that's not supposed to be possible. It's like a black KKK member, or what the fuck. But, you know, they love entering every single fucking sphere and kind of ruining it for everyone. But this one I find kind of as a honestly, like, it's an Eastern European sitting on the side and looking at a lot of Westerners post on X after they watched that particular video, going like, what the fuck? These guys have like mustaches and a what do you call it? That fucking haircut, the Australian fucking haircut, where you have like longer hair on the back, but very basic shit at this point. Very, very basic. What do you call it? It goes like this. Mullet. Yeah, they were like, why do people with mullets and mustaches have reactionary political opinions? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, is your whole ideology, is your whole opinion of a person exclusively based on what they look like? No wonder it's so fucking difficult for you people to speak to, you know, rural Americans and shit. Like, holy fuck.
As per usual, there was also outrage at Jubilee themselves for platforming a bunch of dipshit cultists who have fully drunk the MAGA Kool-Aid and allowed them to spread harmful misinformation.
To the anniversary, to your health, and most importantly, to a motherfucking Friday. Cheers. And dress whatever way you fucking want to dress, okay?
On their platform. There were also a few folks confused by something else that didn't have anything to do with the rhetoric or regurgitated Jordan Peterson talking points. Didn't have anything to do with their ideology or worldview. It was something that might actually be more nefarious than outright Sieg Heiling or calling immigrants rapists because of how surreptitious and deceptive it is. The fact that a lot of the conservatives didn't look like conservatives. This type of guy specifically, who looks like he unironically refers to himself as an ally and owns and operates a bisexual vegan bakery.
There you go. So immediately, this presupposition is, especially for the younger people in the audience, something you should absolutely never fucking do. Like, please don't think that because somebody dresses a little bit edgy or because they are very trendy, etc., that they're automatically a politically progressive individual. Like, you will get conned so fucking often. You will get conned out of your fucking mind. Like, the guy who turned out to be a fucking sexual assaulter and literal, like, recently turned Christian MAGA vaccine denier guy, the guy who used to be an actor and shit, is like the prime example of that. He hooked so many people with the hippie aesthetic and relatively class-conscious takes from time to time, and then he completely moved them over to vaccine panic and eventually to shows like Candace Owens, etc., Russell Brand, exactly. So, if a guy looks chilled, does not mean they're chill. You should base a person's chillness levels on the conversation that you get out of them. And this extra applies to you guys living in multicultural countries, right? Extra applies to minorities, etc., etc.
The way we dress sometimes tells others.
The intersection of pop culture and politics in the United States is wild. Absolutely, but I don't think that there's an intersection. It's one. In the United States, it's absolutely one. It is literally commodifying ideology because you want to purchase particular things that will signal that you are a member of a particular ideology. You want to purchase a particular type of jewelry, a particular type of clothing, a particular haircut, etc., etc. It is pure commodification of thought. It's understandable. This is ideology, right? It's not your fault if you like this, but you should try and de-ideologize yourself on this category because it's silly. It's stupid. You're just making some guy extra money, but that's it. It doesn't contribute to anything. Maybe it makes you feel good for a bit, which is chill, I guess.
There's about ourselves more than what we say does. And you can infer a lot of things about a person based on their style and fashion sense. Is it always accurate? No, absolutely not. But one of fashion's main functions is to signal to others that you may have aligning interests and even political views. Take this guy, for example. The fleece vest, the laminated name tag, the ill-fitting bootcut jeans that match his wife's probably lead you to believe he works in tech, which might lead you to assume other things about him. Probably not a fan of the gym, socially awkward, wants to save the world through technological advancements of his startup, might even be a World of Warcraft incel of some kind. Anything is possible. Now take a look at this guy.
Yeah, I love it. I knew he was going to do the parallel. That's very funny.
Skin-tight Dan Flash shirt wrapped around his bulging pecs, the awful white pants and matching belt, even the way he accessorizes his...
But come on, this is how like all billionaires need to dress like Russian oligarchs, okay? Like, if you're going to be murdering an entire planet, I want you to fully dedicate yourself to the villain arc, okay? I want my class enemy not to be respectful, but to be like, okay, this is the class enemy. I want them to dress in like insane fur coats and wear like hats that are taller than the entirety of their head type shit, okay? I want my class enemy to be something that even in a very large crowd I can point out.
His new wife's laminated face.
Yes, I want Lex Luthor looking motherfuckers, exactly.
Tell you a completely different story. This guy's definitely a meathead who could be mistaken as the founder of the XFL or Tap Out, not a multi-billion-dollar tech company that is actually destroying the planet and not saving it like the other guy dreamt of doing. He may have changed the way he looks, but you can't cure social awkwardness by buying designer clothes, unfortunately. Certain aesthetics, including clothing and hair and makeup, are more than just trends. There's historical and cultural context that we all understand to a degree, whether consciously or unconsciously.
Yes, but that has changed. That has radically changed. It used to be you dress because of what's been passed down to you as a definition of what it is to look like a proper dude or a chill dude or whatever. So you adapt to that because it's been passed down from generation to generation, and because of the environment you find yourself in. It to an extent, it was a supply and demand relationship when it comes to your cultural background. But pretty much with the invention of the internet and active fashion advertising, you sit down and you look for a particular aesthetic to copy. And the particular aesthetic you're looking to copy, you think that you're very original and you thought up by yourself, but it was mostly pitched to you by an advertising company with the idea that your type of people, your definition of a chill dude, this is what he fucking wears. Okay? It's the oldest fucking trick in the book. Selling commodities as an idea of self-realization, but it's still a commodity. And I really love fashion. Don't get me fucking wrong. Absolutely don't get me fucking wrong. Dress whatever way you like. Do your thing. Make yourself feel comfortable. Nobody's fucking with that. All I'm saying is that most of the shit that you wear, because it makes you feel comfortable because you've been coded into thinking that this is what's going to make you feel comfortable. Most of those thoughts are not your thoughts. Most of that culture is not your culture. It's advertising, okay?
And everyone appropriates fashion all the time. It's how you get new trends and subcultures. A lot of the time, it's done out of respect, a way to reclaim a narrative or to make a subversive commentary on class division. Conservatives and even further right groups are no different, co-opting certain aesthetics and fashion styles for different means with different intent. For example, what do you assume about these guys? You might be concerned that they're racist Nazi punks since one of them looks like a skinhead, and they're both wearing military-style jackets covered in band patches and pins with the big romper-stomper boots. But you'd be wrong. They're what's known as sharps, skinheads against racial prejudice. If you look close enough, they're both wearing Sharps t-shirts, and one has a gay pride patch and the other has a patch that says, "Boots and braces don't make a racist," a reference to the style of boots and suspenders that are synonymous with Nazi skinhead punks. In this context, the broader aesthetics might confuse the average person who's unfamiliar with punk or skinhead culture, but for those in the know, this is a massive difference that signals two wildly opposing ideologies despite sharing a few stylistic elements. Just like how this guy from the Jubilee video is not the same as this guy, even though they have the same general aesthetics. And for anyone who is unfamiliar, that second guy is Alex Peter, aka Lol Overruled on TikTok, a pretty outspoken leftist and public defender in the state of New York. The opposite of that melted stick of butter wearing a merkin as a toupee. You see, the original skinheads were always sharps, they just didn't have to call themselves that. But over the years, the punk aesthetic was co-opted by racist pieces of shit to the point that society at large began associating the look solely with Nazi punks. Sharps emerged as a response to fascist appropriation and have tried to reclaim the movement and the aesthetic to a certain degree. As for the Jubilee Trump supporters, people have been pointing out, well, they're basically doing the same thing. They've taken a look and appropriated it as a kind of soft rebrand, but more on that later. You can find...
Okay, this is a larger conversation. You could say that it's like an active process where they want to look more approachable, the same way, for example, some socialist content creators will take on a very preppy look because they want to talk to more centrist or more reactionary people and potentially give them class consciousness to move them over. Okay, so people doing this professionally, intentionally changing their aesthetic in order to target a particular demographic, that's absolutely fine. But most people just like, especially dudes, they want to have sex. Okay? I don't know if you knew. So they dress whatever way is commonly understood by dudes in their little polycule that is going to get you laid. And le mullet and le moustache gets you that, I don't fucking know, that... everything I say will sound misogynist as shit. So I'm not going to say it. But, and that's why most of these dudes are taking up this aesthetic. They do not ideologize it to an extent, is what I'm saying, basically. I don't think it's like... I don't think right-wingers see mullets and they say and mustaches and they say this is a leftist aesthetic. I'm going to take it up in order to infiltrate the leftists or some shit. Those who do content creation for a living or to do political advocacy for a living, they might because same way socialists want to talk to more preppy conservatives, so they become more preppy. Definitely it goes the other way around, where right-wingers want to do the same thing by trying to appropriate leftist aesthetic and get people in. But this is the tiny, tiny, tiny minority. The rest are not.
I'm Hitler's top guy.
They just want to have sex, and they think that by having the mustache, women will think they're not dangerous and let them into their houses, okay? It's very difficult for me to find someone cool when they're trying so fucking hard. Okay, when you're really trying hard, when it's very obvious that you're really, really trying to do a particular look, I'm like, respectfully, might be a little bit reactionary of me, probably is, but hey.
Someone who's rocking a linen skirt and white dreadlocks and a septum piercing could just be into New Age spiritual hogwash and crystals. Or they could be an anti-vaxxer who thinks ivermectin and the power of positive thinking are the best medicine. Someone wearing too tight synthetic gym clothes who's built like a bicycle seat could be a professional bodybuilder. Or
bicycle seat. Okay, that's a new one. I like. Fuck with this guy.
Deeply into red pill manosphere 4chan boards. Even when someone's clothing is meant for function over fashion, you can probably still make some pretty logical assumptions about them. If someone is wearing $3,000 waterproof down-filled Gore-Tex ski gear, that might indicate their class, and thus their finances, and thus the industry they work in, and thus the associated priorities they might have in life. If they're wearing the...
That's why me as a relatively outdoorsy person, I'm really, really noticing the outdoor aesthetic really like starting to pump off with people that want to signal wealth to an extent, because if you it doesn't even have to be hiking or airsoft or like you're really into exploring the forests, etc., etc. Once you go and you need to buy equipment for that, you realize that what fucking Nikes, what fucking fancy loafers, bro. You know how much a proper, strong, practical hiking boot costs? You want to fucking kill yourself, right? So they're trying to kind of separate themselves from the masses that are already adapting the fucking bullshit, like quiet luxury stuff, etc., by saying, hey, I have enough free time to go walk around forests. That's why I know so much about outdoorsy stuff. Also, if you're also a fellow person who has a lot of time because they are wealthy and they're outdoorsy, you will know that these boots that don't look very expensive are actually $500, right? It is always signaling. I just find it exceptionally cringe and basic bitch shit when it's when you're like actively doing it, like when you sit down, you're like, I'm gonna craft an aesthetic. I'm about to craft an aesthetic. But for example, I like gold. I like gold. I want gold things all over me. I want gold, gold, gold. I'm gonna have a birthday soon. I'm gonna buy myself a big gold fucking watch. So, some of you that are OGs, remember I wore a fucking big gold watch, not real gold. Now I might buy a fucking real gold one. Thank you, subscribers, on fucking ironically. But I'm buying it not because I want to look like a used car salesman from fucking Dallas, but because I like gold. That's it. I don't give a shit that people think that I probably sell a very high quality narcotics for a living. I just like it. That's the fucking difference, right? You like a thing, you put the thing on. Don't like, I'm gonna appear a particular way. That's not cool. That's not cool. And everybody can tell from 50 fucking miles away that you're trying really hard. So don't just be like, unironically, just please be yourself. Please just be yourself. Please. You will feel so good. I didn't know when I was younger, right? I found out just actually be yourself. And when it comes to how you present, but also just by yourself when you're in a room by yourself, right? It's so fucking liberating. You have nobody to impress for two reasons: because you don't have enough time for it, and because they don't care. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a shit. So just do your fucking thing. And don't try hard, please.
Nazi youth have been appropriating the aesthetics and symbols of other cultures for hundreds of years. Those freedom-loving, gun-toting bootlickers that dress up like cowboys and sing Confederate rebel songs about owning human beings. Yeah.
What if who I am is always wearing an Iron Man suit and carrying a lightsaber? Then do your thing. I will cross the street and clutch my pearls, but you're absolutely welcome to do it.
That entire look came from Mexican vaqueros and early Native American culture. For fuck's sake, the earliest cowboys were black, and now dipshits who have lost a foot to diabetes go around calling themselves cowboys because they think putting a giant American or Confederate flag on the back of their jazzy scooter is the same thing. They're not dressing up in cowboy garb because they work a farm or herd cattle or appreciate the Americana aesthetics as fashion first and foremost. They're cosplaying cartoonish patriotism where style is secondary to being an outspoken racist who has a twisted nationalist view of what America represents. And more recently, groups like
I'm such a fucking strong man in this massive truck of mine that has
massaging seats and AC and has actually never been taken off-road, has never seen mud. I lose my mind if I find even the tiniest of scratch. I've never even properly used the massive fucking storage area in the back.
But brother, do other brothers that drive the same type of brother truck do believe that I am their brother? Holy shit, brothers, yeah, brother.
It's like the Proud Boys have adopted their uniform from punk aesthetics.
But at this point, I believe almost all generally, almost all outwards aesthetics have kind of lost any connection to the subculture or way of life that they belong to. The fashion at this point is quite literally like 99% LARP. I agree with his conclusions, but I think they need to be taken further, because fashion has been so commodified that it has almost nothing to do with a particular subculture. Hell, it's usually called out as toxic and fucked up because, to an extent, it is, to point at somebody who, for example, is wearing the aesthetic of a particular subculture and being like, dude, I'm gonna do the meme, but you're wearing an Iron Man t-shirt, name 10 Iron Man songs, right? That is also cringe, but it was also a defense mechanism against completely demystifying aesthetics and making them just something that you do because you feel like it, right? Not because of a particular way of life that you're following. Thank you, Low PH. Thank you, Low PH Ive, for the sub with Prime. Welcome. We are 4 gift subs away from me donating another 10. So yes, 4 will equal 14.
Thrusting the Fred Perry polo back into modern-day fascist ubiquity. Similar to the MA1 bomber and Doc Martens, the Fred Perry polo has been an on-again, off-again marker among skinhead punks for decades. The Proud Boys just picked a specific colorway and instead of shaving their heads, paired it with...
And this is, for example, a different category. If we're talking about right-wing skinheads or if we're talking about the Proud Boys, here we're talking about like official and unofficial uniforms that signal to your comrades, doesn't matter of what type, that you're one of them, etc., etc. This is a different category of clothing that is specifically designed to signal that you're a member of a particular movement. When I'm talking about the general hyper-commodification of fashion and how almost all fashion is LARP now, it is not associated to any way of life or culture. I'm not alluding to this.
with a $60 high and tight, more reminiscent
It was also a way for men to endlessly try to test me to see if I was just pretending to like metal or video games for male attention. Oh yeah, fucking dude shit, absolutely. If I was gonna fake an entire personality for male attention. But don't you know, your whole life, women's whole existence revolves around how men perceive them. Trust me, it's not the other way around. Trust me, trust me. Masculinity is not deeply linked to how women look at men. It's actually the other way around. Trust me. I'm a guy. Trust me. Oh God, I always found that the meme, like, you know, telling women that everything they do is for male attention. Meanwhile, unironically, I genuinely believe this. Unironically, most men, especially those that really care about whatever definition of masculinity that they've ascribed to themselves, they literally do it almost exclusively because of female attention, right? So it's always projection. It's always projection. It's the dudes that model themselves after what a woman would like to see that are the same ones that are telling women that hey, everything you're doing is for guys' attention, type shit.
Why can't they come up with their own unique thing? It's because they're fucking boring. When I think of conservative fashion, I think of a lot of things, but it's usually this: sport coats, penny loafers, patriarchal modesty, and themed authoritarianism. A pretty narrow set of creative pillars to work within. Fascist German and Italian military uniforms were designed with these ideals in mind, specifically to make anyone in an SS uniform look like the ideal Übermensch, that drew inspiration from European aristocracy. It was the ultimate power suit, a white power suit that was ironically all black.
Or OG Yugopnik video.
Cowboys fashion has followed a similar trend for a modern-day Call of Duty audience, and the tradwife aesthetic of recent years has admittedly embraced a less modest version of femininity with a pastoral twist, but to a fetishistic degree that is still ultimately controlled by men.
Fascism is a bitchless ideology. Not only if they do actually find a girlfriend, they will hyper-obsess with the idea that some member of whatever minority comes and has very intense and very rough sex with their wife in front of them. 100% of the time.
So childish things like fashion and art, they've got coding to do. They're simply using personal optics to make spreading misinformation across their technocratic empires. That right there is another explanation why this new breed of soft boy conservative / fascist looks like this. It's less threatening than a tailored Schutzstaffel uniform or a form-fitting Proud Boy polo and tactical vest. It's a form of subversion and manipulation meant to put others at ease, where they're less likely to react with hostility or revulsion when they start spouting fascist nonsense. Not only that, it's because the guys who aren't conservatives or alt-right weirdos are getting laid. I think I can confidently say most women don't want to fuck someone wearing a Klan hood or who's jacked up on HGH in a polo they bought in the kids section that represents Christian nationalism. I'm sure there are some women who are into that aesthetic and dress in a similar way. But even if they do, they're not putting out the same way a liberated, bra-burning leftist woman is. They're waiting until marriage and only having sex as a means to breed more offspring. This is especially true of young, lonely, white men, which I've already talked about.
Okay, we'll continue this afterwards. Now, we need to move into a nice little conversation with our dear friend Gremlo, who I need to knock to. Wir sind die Schnitte der kommenden Macht.